And there's also a growing concern about the impact lockdown is having on children, with a reported rise in speech disorders in the US. To discuss further, we're joined by Dr. Tamara Hunter. Good afternoon, Tamara.
Hi, Monica.
Firstly, can you talk us through how speech generally develops?
Yeah, so infants generally start to babble at around about the age of 6 months, first words 10 to 15 months, and they're talking generally by their first birthday. And what we know is that language development is key in those first 5 years of life. Now, in these countries where there's widespread lockdown for a long period of time, there are a lot of developmental psychologists and speech therapists seeing increased referrals for children not reaching those age-appropriate developments, particularly in language. And it's not just in the US. In the UK, they surveyed 50,000 4- and 5-year-old children, with 25% increase requests for help over the years prior to the pandemic.
But why is that? They're still at home having interaction with their parents.
Yeah, look, we know that language development is really key in those first years, and that comes from an exposure to lots of different sources. And language sets you up for life. So we know an adult who might have had language, so a child who has difficulty with language, they're 4 times more likely to have difficulty reading as an adult, more likely to have mental health issues, more likely to be unemployed and have social mobility issues. So language sets you up for life, and we are seeing a retardation in the ability of language development in children in lockdown.
Just because they're interrupted by repeated lockdowns?
Yeah, so it's obvious in these countries where it's perhaps repeated or even prolonged lockdown that they're not getting exposure to opportunities for language. We know with babies, for example, that ability to see that visual articulation, the expressions that we have talking to each other and talking to them really impacts on language development.
And that's going to lead me into my next question, because what about masks?
Yeah, certainly there is a thought that perhaps because of mask wearing, there is a possibility of babies being hindered in their development. But in saying that, in the home, most parents and caregivers are not wearing masks. So it's that face-to-face, one-on-one dedicated communication that's probably going to make up for that lost opportunity at daycare, play groups and so on.
We keep hearing about limiting screen time, but when you are stuck in the house, that can be incredibly difficult to do.
Oh, look, I know. As a mum, I know it is difficult to limit, but we've got to be conscious of the impact of screen time. What screen time is for young children is passive watching. They are not entertaining interactive communication and language development. And the more screen time, the less opportunity to learn. It's also about the quality, Monica, of that screen time. And the American Academy of Pediatrics says for a 2 to 5-year-old child, they should have no more than 1 hour of high quality content per day, and ideally co-watching with another child to encourage that communication.
Well, Dr. Tamara Hunter, we'll have to leave it there for now, but always appreciated.
Thanks, Monica.